Good evening. My name is Thurman Greco, and this is Let's Live with Thurman Greco, coming to you from scenic downtown Woodstock, Educational Television, Channel 23, and also coming to you from Let's Live with Thurman Greco on YouTube. And of course, we have our total favorite VIP guest.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
you're looking lovely this
Thank
evening.
you. It's St. Patrick's Day. I don't know. Yeah, it's St. Patrick's Day. I don't know why I had to tell you that, but St. Patrick's Day, yeah.
What does that do for you?
Reminds me of what it means, actually.
What does it mean?
I'm going to probably bother a lot of people by saying this.
That's okay.
Is that all right?
Yes.
Well, when I was a little girl in Catholic school, when I was so disliked by the nuns and priests because I asked questions, when they told me that St. Patrick's drove the snakes out of Ireland, I really was wondering about that. What did that mean? And I used to think, why would he want to get rid of the snakes in Ireland? Were there really so many snakes in Ireland that you had to get rid of them all? And why? Why? Well, it didn't mean snakes. It meant the pagans and the druids and the nature
really?
people. Yeah. No offense to St. Patrick, but it was the people who didn't ascribe to his beliefs.
And do you think he really did that?
No, probably not. I don't think St. Patrick himself did it. I think that the people in control, the people of the closed-minded church people, thought that if we get rid of anyone who didn't think like we do, we have to get rid of them, drive them out, which is still the way it is in the world nowadays.
Yes.
So I wanted to wear a necklace like a friend of mine gave me with a big snakes all over it, but I wore a little snake necklace because, hey, I'm one of the snakes that they'd have to drive out of Ireland.
The serpent.
The serpent.
Right.
The serpent. Because nature person, I don't go with the norm.
And it is true that there are no serpents in...
Oh, there probably are. And there are certainly druids and pagans and witches and soothsayers and mediums like myself. And people who don't, follow the conservative way of thinking. And I'm sure that's absolutely fine now. But back then, it wasn't. And they were probably burned at the stake.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So those were the snakes that were driven out of Ireland. It's not really St. Patrick's fault. It was the way of the world then, and a little bit now too.
Well, now,
It wasn't his
does St. Patrick have a biography? Is there a story?
I think that you could probably find out stuff about him, but a lot of people who are in the pagan way or the nature people are calling this National Snake and Serpent Day.
Are they really? And how long has that been going on?
Ever since I became interested in the neo-pagan or the pagan religion of the nature people.
What is the
Druids.
significance of a serpent?
Well, the serpent
for you, what is the significance?
Well, the serpent has always been the symbol of wisdom. And of course, the whole thing with Adam and Eve is that the serpent represented the wisdom. And the woman, Eve, was not allowed to have the wisdom. And that's why original sin came to the garden, because she bit from the apple, the forbidden fruit.
Really?
Yeah. It's all proverbs and legend, but
And stories?
scripture.
Yes.
And it's a lot. It's a lot. So I wear a silver snake on my necklace, and I have a dragon tattooed on my leg, and there we go. And happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone.
In witchcraft, what is the significance of a dragon?
I think the dragon was always a symbol of the earth
Oh, really?
and immortality. The one I have is a symbol of mortality, how life keeps going on forever.
So when you look at the dragon, you see life eternal.
Mm-hmm. To me, it's a symbol of the earth energy, the fire of the earth.
So you see the dragon as wisdom.
Yes.
And were there in the lore of people, is a dragon important in that lore?
Well, there's always images, particularly in church windows, of St. George slaying the dragon. The dragon was supposed to represent the demon, the devil. And because it was something that was associated with evil, it was like you had to kill the dragon. But the dragon actually represents the strength and the power of the individual person. So we don't want to kill that. That's something sacred. And it's still one of the symbols of Britain and Wales.
Really?
Yeah, the dragon is on the Welsh flag. The dragon, the unicorn and the dragon are one of the symbols of ancient Britain and actually contemporary Britain too.
Wow.
So,
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a lot. If you really look behind the meaning of things, it's very, very interesting. I think that we live in a culture that everything is, we think we can get all the information about things very quickly, whether it's the internet or the, everything's at our beck and call. It's very quickly coming to us information. But if we really look at and research things, be very surprised at what things mean. I actually, I love Britain very much, and I've always believed in, fairies and elementals and, things like that. That a lot of people may think that I'm absolutely insane, but hey, my whole job is very unusual. There are things out there, more than ghosts and angels and things that we kind of take for granted that exist. But I remember the first time I've ever was in England. I went there when I was 18. I took myself over there to stay for a month at a cottage in Surrey. And I walked out the door at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I lost about 5 hours of time in the backyard. I went into a garden, and I don't time left. And that was before I started doing the work that I'm doing. But I remember going into, I could only describe it as an alternative reality. No drugs were involved. There was nothing like that. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think I came in around 10 a.m. I looked at the clock. 5 hours had gone.
Wow.
And that was the whole time shift thing. Now, I was a very spiritually and psychically open young person. I did, and as a child too, I always felt things and saw things and did lose track of time a lot. But this was happening at a very young age, where time just kind of folded in upon itself with me. And it does now, and that's how I do the readings. I believe that all time happens at once. It circles, it falls. It's quantum physics, actually.
So when you do a reading for someone, how long is it generally?
Usually over an hour.
It's over an hour.
It's over an hour our time.
Now, when the reading is done, when it's over, do you have a sense of a passing of time?
It's funny how it always tends to last exactly an hour without me looking at a clock. It seems like if I could start something at 1 o'clock, it ends at 2. But I'm not actually timing it. It just happens to it lasts exactly that amount of time. Even though I say, the time doesn't matter, it tends to last an hour.
So while the time may not matter to you personally, it matters to the process.
It still works.
It matters to the
process. It's
process.
like we have an allotted amount of time where it fills that time. And then it's funny because my dog Ghost, as everyone knows, is kind of like a protector of me, gets up after an hour, almost to say, okay, we're done. She'll raise
She is the
herself
keeper
up.
of the
She
time.
is the keeper of the time, and also doesn't like people touching anything on the table.
Oh,
She
that's
won't let
very
anyone-
interesting.
She won't let anyone touch anything on the table anymore.
Well, now, I'd like to go back to the time.
The time
element.
thing is really interesting, and everyone has noticed lately the time is running differently. We've talked about this
Yes.
before. Something is happening with time that's really strange. I'm noticing it more and more.
We first started talking about time back in about 1980,
Yeah, what's going on with that?
you know?
Yeah. Time is, well, when a person sits with me, I look at them, and that's why I only do the readings in person. I don't do anything electronically. I don't do anything Zoom or anything. Person sits with me, and I look. It's funny because the person I'm doing the reading for tends to look behind them, but I'm looking over them. And when I'm looking over them, I see past, present, and future. I can't explain exactly why, but I do. I see them at different ages, and it comes very quick, like flashes. Now, I'm not saying I'm the only person who could do this, because I think everyone could tune into this if they allow themselves to do it. You have to let go of the rules. It's simply just let go.
You have to go with the flow.
Go with the flow, and logic does not necessarily play into any of this. I've been doing it so long, it's second nature to me. But I think it has to do with let go of disbelief and let go of the whole feeling of like, we can't really do this. Just accept.
Well, the whole feeling of, we can't really do it. That's that is something that people struggle with their whole lives.
All the time. I mean, this morning, and this is, I don't mean to be light about this because I know it's serious to the person who wrote to me. But I wake up and the first thing, you check your messages on the phone. And my first message of the day was, I think I'm possessed by a demon. Can you help me remove it? I mean, I'm sorry. This is common for me. But there's a part of me that just is like, oh my God, not this again. But the immediate thing that comes to my mind is, you don't need me to help you. I wrote to this person and I said, first off, you don't need anyone to help you. Release it from yourself. There's no negativity around you that you can't get rid of. There are no curses. There's no bad juju. There is no maloki put upon you. There's no evil eye. Don't believe it. And then it's gone. Your own self can release anything that you perceive of as negative energy or any. There's no curses. There's nothing like that. I don't believe there are. I mean, some people make a fortune saying, yes, I can remove a curse. There are no curses.
Oh, they make a lot of money.
They make a lot of money by it. I think the funniest thing that happened recently is a woman came in and said, please help me. I have this horrible curse on me. And somebody had given me this big plastic crucifix, and I just went and touched her head with it. I said, okay, it's gone. It's free. You can go now. And she started laughing because she saw that I was lighthearted about it. And I was like, there's no curse. And she said, thank you. I said, there never was one. You just believe that there was something happened to you, but there wasn't anything. And we just ended up laughing about it. But there's so many people who are walking around thinking they have bad luck or that there's a curse on them. There isn't. I'm a firm believer that you can get rid of anything that you perceive as bad around you.
I am so glad that you said that. I have a young friend who feels like, the demons are after her.
Yeah.
And I have been counseling her because she does pray and then just to thank God for having having them gone.
Yeah, that's
just
all
thank
you
you.
need. Just
it's done. You ask for it and it is done.
And it is done. Thy will be done.
Yeah.
Just believe that it's gone, and it's gone. I mean, the other thing, there are entities that are different than demonic entities. There could be a presence in a house. There could be an echo of a strong emotion in a house. Like, there's definitely buildings that have emotions that are trapped in it. And that's, we're talking about at this point, ghost or energies in buildings that withhold an energy. Like, here's an example. A woman came to me a couple of weeks ago and said that every time she goes into her job, she feels devastatingly ill, and that she feels like hopeless and everything. She says she doesn't hate her job, but every time she goes there, it's like she feels nauseous. I looking at her, and all of a sudden I saw the building. It's in Brooklyn, where she's working. I said, it's a warehouse, right? And she said, yeah. I said, it's old, right? She said, yeah. I said, I think you're working in a slaughterhouse. What used to be
Oh,
a slaughterhouse. And she looked, she said, yeah, I think you're right. So she's not going to quit her job, but I said, when you go to work now, maybe take, and I'm not also one big that's with little tools and little trinkets, but I said, maybe consider, wearing something like a crystal that maybe will magnify positive energy, or taking like little blessed Himalayan salt and maybe throw it around the corners of the building, because that building, to a sensitive person, has absorbed a great deal of fear and violence and just awful, and she's feeling it because she's that open and that sensitive. She's working in an old slaughterhouse. I mean, God, that would be devastating to a person like me, particularly a vegetarian like me.
Yeah.
So there are some people who buy houses and they're not necessarily haunted. Maybe no one had died in them, but there could be a feeling in some houses of a person who is incredibly depressed, and then they'll be sitting down at a place where a person may have even written in their diary and they'd be depressed, or a young person was contemplating suicide and they would feel incredibly depressed and they'd be picking it up. It's the energy of every object, every stone, every piece of jewelry, every piece of clothing holds an energy. You gotta be careful when you buy stuff in thrift shops too.
That brings a lot of wisdom, because I have people who come to me with depression.
Yeah, a lot of depression.
And the depression, now I realize that on some of them, the depression is not within them. It is around them, and they are perceiving it.
Yeah, they're psychically picking up. They have so much empathy. They're picking up the energy of different things.
So what they need to do is put something around themselves for protection.
I really suggest when anyone is suffering from great depression, or any depression actually, to open the blinds, let the sun in. Sun, I don't care what people have said that sun's dangerous. Sun heals. The sunlight heals. Sun heals, animals heal, music heals. Let the sun in.
Yes.
Always. People who are quick to put the blinds down in their house, no.
Well, and also people have a tendency to combine negative feelings with anxiety.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Then you have negativity, you have anxiety, and you have depression. And
All
you
together.
have a trinity there.
Absolutely.
Of negative feelings, and pretty soon you can't have one without the other.
Yeah, exactly.
And you cannot get rid of all three of them.
No.
There's too much.
It feeds on yourself.
Yes.
And you allow it to come in, and then it feeds on you. And I mean, I've also been telling people lately, and this is like something I think everybody does in every house. People go to sleep with the television on.
Right.
Good God, look at the news.
Mm-hmm.
Look what you're putting into your subconscious when you go to sleep. It never even enters some people's minds that that's not a good thing to do. You're trying, your subconscious is hearing and feeling what's coming from the television. And they wonder why they can't sleep.
And that's been going on for years.
It's been going on for years. And some people are just not going to ever listen to any of this stuff. And God knows I don't have the answer, because I'm walking around picking up everything all the time anyway. My mind never stops. I don't even drive a car. Never have. Because I feel so much. I mean, obviously I'm not the calmest person in the world, because I'm picking up stuff too. It's weird, isn't it?
I don't think it's weird. I really don't. I think it's normal.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are picking up things around them.
Yeah.
And not understanding, not even realizing, and not even suspecting that it's happening.
No, they
and
don't,
when
they're
you
aware.
have a home or a room, don't even have the whole home, just have one room, and you've got your computer and you've got your phone and you've got your
Oh my God,
you've got
these
all of
people
these
that are
things.
staring at their phone. And also, I noticed, and I might have said this in other interviews with you, the Wi-Fi. It's affecting the readings too. Everything's going faster through my head. It's not as, if I wanted the readings to be calmer, if I wanted to spend more time with the spirits who are visiting, I couldn't because it's jumping from one thing to the next. Names are frantically coming faster. I wonder if this has to do with, the G5s that are out there. I don't know, but if spirits are made of electricity or electric energy at all, could this be affecting the Wi-Fi? The Wi-Fi could be affecting them. It's happening faster. Names, in one reading, I could mention like 50, 60 names are coming out. And some of them are right, and other ones, they're looking at me like, I don't know who that is. But I have to say them if they come through. It's frantic now. It's weird.
I perceive a frantic environment.
Yeah.
You talk about you don't drive.
Yeah.
I perceive a frantic environment on the road.
Oh, yeah.
And
oh, my God, it's scary.
It's like people sit in front of a computer or they sit in front of their phone and they push a button or they poke the screen or something, and all of a sudden they've gone from point A to point whatever, and in the blink of an eye. So then they go out to their car and they have to turn the car on, and then they can't go but 65 miles an hour. And there's this impatience
They're
with
angry.
something, yes, and anger.
People
and
are
nothing
very
is,
angry.
the car is not going to instantly
No.
take them. That's
No.
not going to happen. Maybe sometime, but not now.
No.
So they would prefer the instant.
Well, people are used to instant, because I could go on my Facebook and talk to a friend in Australia in 2 seconds right now. It's instant. We're not used to that instant. That was just happened in the past 10, 15 years. So, I mean, everything's changed a lot. It used to be quieter. My brain used to be quieter, just like the rest of the world. And it's not as quiet anymore. And it's just all different. That's why I think I spoil myself a little bit, because I only do 1 or 2 people a day. And that's why I have such a long waiting list, because I don't like to do more than that. It's too much for me. It really is. I get too that.
Well, you can, listen, realizing that what's going around you is more than you're comfortable with is a form of self-care. Saying to whatever is around you, whether it be another person or a situation or whatever, enough, this is all I'm going to subject my psyche to at this moment. That's self-care.
It's enough. It's I already feel pulled out of my mind too much. And the time thing. I mean, if I do 2 people in a day, I honestly don't remember it by the time I get home. I don't even remember who I've seen.
Is that a blessing?
Yeah, probably. Probably I don't carry it with me at
That's
all.
good.
And the shame of it, though, is that when people write to me like a couple of days later and say, remember what you said, I'm sorry, I don't remember who they are. And that might insult people or make them feel bad. I don't remember the readings after, so I can't really continue.
I think that's good. I think
yeah,
that's
they're
positive.
gone from me.
Yes,
That's why.
That's what the reading is.
Yeah,
You're
it's
reading.
Gone. It's gone. And it's funny because you think that if I'm friends with a person, I'd be able to do the readings better. No way. I can't do it for friends at all. Because my own desire for them comes up in the readings, and I don't want that to
You don't want to know people.
affect. No.
No.
No. So I have all these little rules about how I handle this. And it has to work that way. I don't advertise. It's all word of mouth. So that's how I do it. It's been a really strange job. Strangely, it has been my career, my entire life. So that's all I've done. And wrote the book. And some other things are coming up. So let's see what happens.
Well, but I think, it's not as if it's weird. I think physicians,
it's always been around.
I've learned through my daughter that physicians truly, on some level, I have encountered physicians who are healers.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
they themselves are not
Absolutely.
carrying, not yesterday, they're not carrying
Really?
tomorrow.
So they just live at that moment? and
They are
that's it?
at that moment.
Oh, I like that. I'd like to know. That's interesting to me. Yeah. You have to be able to just do the work in the moment.
Yeah.
And be able to walk away from it. I get that very much.
And not concerned with the outcome.
Well, it's interesting to me also that for being what I do, I have almost no, and I don't mean for this to sound like I don't care about what I do, but I don't like when I go home at night or whatever, I don't tend to read books about psychic phenomena. I don't like watch movies about it. I tend to kind of like leave that kind of stuff behind.
Yes.
It's sort of like a physician only watching hospital drama. I kind of like don't subscribe to like the Gaia channel or whatever because I've had enough. I just want to do something that doesn't have anything to do with it or read about stuff that doesn't have anything to do with it.
Well, not trying to subscribe to that and not trying to immerse yourself in your career and in your physical abilities, there's a lot around you.
There's always a lot around.
Well, because this part of the country, you've got all these dowsers, and you've got all of these people who they themselves communicate with all different...
Absolutely. I did pick up from the library, because I do read a lot, a book about witchcraft and superstition in the Hudson Valley. Oh my God, this whole area.
Yeah.
They used to have witch trials here. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Yeah. From Tarrytown, where Sleepy Hollow is, and this whole area of the Hudson Valley, there were women, at least 100 or more, that were hung for witchcraft.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, so there's all of that energy, and then you have a strong shamanic element
Absolutely.
in the
Native
Hudson
Americans
Valley.
did it too.
The Hudson Valley's really big
Yeah.
on that. And then you have the dowsers.
Yeah.
And then you have all of the ones who are really into witchcraft, and it's there.
It's very
thick.
strongly here. It was nice to read about it. It was nice to know there was all that going on here. I do feel that there are people who have been who are still suspect, who are still would be very quick to erect a stake burning if they could. I had a young woman come to me recently, maybe a few months ago, who said that told me to be careful because her mother had sent out some spies because her mother's part of a church, a nearby church, and was very curious about me because she wanted to know how I knew what I knew. And I had to really be on guard. which is kind of like the witch burnings are going to happen again.
Well,
so
and
she warned me to be careful. The church was watching me. The church.
you know,
A nearby church, I think it was in Socrates, by the way.
that's, to me, that's not only true because of the
Yeah.
church, but, you know, people in the healing arts. I
Well,
don't
that's what
see
witches
you
were.
as, I don't, I mean,
And I'm
but you
not a
as a
witch.
psychic are not in
No,
the healing arts,
no.
but people in the healing arts, if they don't understand it, it's evil.
It is.
Whether,
they,
you know.
I had the same woman came to me, this young woman, and told me that her mother was ranting on that yoga was evil. Yoga was evil.
Wow.
Yeah. Misinformation, right?
That is so
I know.
sad.
And that's this day and age in the next town over.
That is
that.
so sad that a
Yeah.
person in 2023
Yep, that's right.
and if you're afraid of yoga, there's all
You're
other,
afraid of
you know,
yoga.
that's the beginning of a long list.
That's like the body, and that's like this has been around for, and actually all of this has been around for thousands of years.
Yes.
And you know, the thing is, I realize, like, one thing I always say, it is kind of funny to say, I'm not a witch. I don't do anything that makes people do anything, or I never do spells or anything like that. That's not what I do. I just tune into other forces. I'm a spiritualist. And the bells are ringing. Where'd that come from?
I don't know.
I guess it agreed with me. I'm a spiritualist. Thank you. Whoever you are. Really, where did that go?
I have no idea.
I hear that.
It's a big bell outside, maybe the kids are playing.
Well, that was perfect timing.
Wow.
Wow. Well, the thing is, bells are always supposed to be the sign of angels. So thank you. I do believe in angels, just like fairies. I believe in them. And ghosts. Spirits. Thank you, everyone. I like that. That came perfect timing. Anyway, yeah, it's so funny to say I'm definitely not a witch. I don't do anything like that. But I am into nature religion. So anyway, if you happen to see me reduced to ash, it's a church in Socrates is coming after me.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I'm not going to go anywhere. They can't get rid of me that easy. Ghosts wouldn't let them.
Ghosts would stop
Ghosts
them.
would stop
Well, you
them.
know, dowsers, when you talk to dowsers, the dowsers that I have met do not only douse.
No, they feel.
They feel.
They feel. Yeah, of course.
And they communicate.
yeah.
And
The
then
earth.
the same is true with shamanic healers.
Yes.
The interesting thing about the shamanic healers, because you have your serpent that
Mm-hmm.
you wear, is animals are very important to
Animals
shamanic
are the most
healing.
important. Animals are everything. Animals know everything. It's all that. That's why it's all about nature for me. It's nature spirits, it's everything from the earth. That's it. And that's my religion. It's nature based. I have tattoos of animals all over me. That's it.
Oh, that's
Animals.
wonderful.
Yeah, it's all animals. People, not so much.
What motivates you to get a tattoo?
It has to mean something. And everything does. Everything is either an animal totem or a place. Like I have a deer here from, I got it in Sherwood Forest in Nottingham in England. The deer is a symbol of Sherwood Forest. And some of my pets have passed are on me. The dragon's on me. I have like different creatures.
Do you have an animal that supports you?
Physically, it would have to be ghost.
No, I mean, for example,
Like a
I guess
totem animal?
yeah, okay, that's
Well,
a good.
Well, nothing's better than a dog, right?
Oh,
Dogs
I
are the
think so.
best. But I guess I would have to be a dog or a wolf. Dog. Although I have I am partial to bats. My grandma was from the Carpathian Mountains of Transylvania, so we always had that little bit of a bat. Transylvania vampire.
Your grandmother
fame.
was from Transylvania.
Transylvania, right where the Carpathian Mountains, where Vlad the Impaler came from, who's a distant relative.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm proud of it. He was a hero to the Romanian people. Maybe he drank a little blood. So what? They have a statue erected to him.
In Transylvania.
He was a hero to the people there. Vlad.
So your heritage
Great-grandfather.
goes to...
Transylvania and Eastern European.
So that's why you're so blonde.
I'm that. I'm all that. Yeah.
And your religious background...
Well, they were probably a mix. I'm not really sure. I think we might have some Ukrainian in there, and I chose to be a pagan. Nature.
Well, that's from the
a
forest.
choice, the forest people.
And that's the elementals.
All elemental.
Yes.
I truly believe. I mean, I've lost so much track of time in the forest. I've wandered Sherwood Forest with the massive oak trees. So big. I mean, I know we have redwood trees in California, but Sherwood Forest has oak trees that are immense. And I would stand in the oak trees and talk to the tree spirits. It's amazing. I've seen stuff and gone to places that are unbelievable. And it spoiled me a little bit to the American forest, I have to say, to be in a massive oak tree. And some of the oak trees there are like 1,000 years old. So yeah. And there were spirits all around. And I was never afraid. I'd be by myself in the forest. I never felt fully human, honestly. I always felt a little fairy, actually. That's what the name Fiona means, of the Fae.
Oh, really?
Did you know that? Yes, Fiona means of the Fae.
Well, you know, I think the Hudson Valley is filled with fairies.
I think it is. I think it's very much elemental. I also think there's a lot of Native American spirits here. And of course, from what I have heard, they realized the Valley of Woodstock down the hill was so extremely powerful that the Native Americans didn't even want to come down into the valley. It was sacred here.
Really?
Where our town is, yeah. So it always gets me, and I have to say this, when they do the Sunday drumming,
Yes.
I don't think half the time they realize what they're conjuring up in the middle of the grain. The energy is it's more than just dancing. Hippie dancing in the grain. The drumming, shaman-wise, conjures up spirits. And they're drumming every Sunday.
Well, you know, they may
It's
be
nice.
conjuring up spirits, but
They're-
they're not aware.
No, and they're good spirits. They make
Yeah,
everyone happy.
it's positive.
But it's very positive, but it is a spiritual
Boost.
incantation.
Well, that's got to be good.
It is good, and it's always like everything has a purpose. Everything has intention behind it. I feel like we as humans, or mostly human, have to be aware that everything we're doing has consequences. Every single thing. And nothing makes me more upset than walking through the woods and seeing people, throwing water bottles around or garbage. What are they thinking? What is I know everyone must think this way, but who is people who are throwing garbage in the woods? I mean, it's just incredible. Or, killing things or whatever. It's just, it's beyond me. Who does that?
I cannot understand, and I'm sure I'm going to ask you a question now.
Mm-hmm.
When you are doing a reading on someone, you said something very profound a few minutes ago. You talked about how everything has an intention.
Everything has an intention.
So that if you do something and you don't give it an intention, it will come with its own intention.
Oh, you bet it does. That's karma.
Oh, really?
That's karma. Oh, yeah.
So if you're going to get a reading you need to establish your intention.
I think so, yeah. There are people who come in pretty much not really with any questions or anything, and just kind of seeing what it's all about. But people come through that they may not even want to talk to.
And so if they're going to get their money's worth, they need to establish an intention.
I think it just goes without saying that you should probably have something in your head when you come in.
That's
There are
important.
I don't really, I have an assistant who kind of like, doesn't really tell them that, but if they have a question, they could ask, like, should I be prepared with anything? There are people who just are coming in with no real direction. It's kind of like a free-for-all. Like, frankly, yesterday I had a girl come in. I wasn't satisfied with the reading, and I'm hoping, I don't think it was very good. I think it was all over the place, and I felt really bad about it. It didn't feel like it was messy, and I felt bad. Because
There was no
there
intention.
was no intention. And it was like, it was too much of a free-for-all. Today was okay. There are other people who a couple of days ago, see, this is how things work. There was a young woman who came. I hope I can do justice to the story. She came, and I felt there were a lot of spirits around her that needed to come through, but we weren't picking on one in particular person. And I could tell that she wanted someone to come through that hadn't really come through yet. And because the way she was sitting, her head was down. And all of a sudden, she was across the table, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, absolutely nowhere, no way that this should have happened, a fuchsia feather came flying, a little tiny feather, but came flying above me and landed right on the table. And we both looked and said, where did that feather come from? I'm looking at a ghost, I'm looking everywhere, nowhere that feather should come from. And she started crying. And then it actually rose up from the table, went over and landed on her, and she started crying more. And I said, it's your grandma, isn't it? And she started crying. Apparently her grandmother had died about 2 weeks ago.
Ooh.
And her grandma, Norma, always wore fuchsia.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't get that it was, I didn't mention anything about her grandma at all. But her grandma that was her favorite color. And her grandmother didn't want this reading to end until we spoke of her. So she manifested the tiniest little feather. That it was interesting because it must have taken a lot for a person who only died like a week ago or two to manifest anything. So it was the slightest little tiny feather that flew around us, and it landed on the girl, but the girl knew exactly. And she said, my grandma loved, that was her favorite color, and I know that was her that sent that feather. And I said, that would actually make sense, because in spirit, it takes like 3 months before a spirit could actually strongly manifest, because of, the Bardo realm and all the, they'd have to build themselves up, particularly if they die from cancer or anything. The fact that the grandma wanted to be seen and kind of let the granddaughter know that she was around, she used all her energy to manifest the slightest little sliver of a feather to visit. That was her sign.
So that was the intention.
That was the intention. She just wanted to hear from Grandma Norma.
I think intention is extremely important.
Intention is extremely important. And sometimes we don't even know what it was. Like, that girl really needed to hear from her grandma, so her grandmother literally moved heaven and earth to manifest a feather.
Do you ever ask people about their intentions?
No, I don't want to know anything.
You don't
When
want
they
to know
sit down, I
anything.
don't want to know anything about them. I just want their name, their first name, and their middle name. Because names have power. Did you know what I figured out? God, it took me just my whole life to figure this out. We should all know this. How do we not? Maybe we do. Words have such power that cause intent and intention and make things happen. The word spelling, spells, casting spells.
Right.
Spelling means spells.
Right.
Did everyone know? Why did it take me that long to figure this out? Did you know that?
Well, I didn't think of it until you said that.
Spelling.
Now.
Spelling. That's why they call it spelling, because
Right.
it casts spells.
Right.
Whoa!
Yeah.
It hit me one day that it struck me like that's where spelling comes from, because the intention of words, you put the words out there and it cause and effect.
That's the spelling.
That's spelling.
Isn't that amazing?
It just took me like half a century to figure that out.
Oh, well, that's okay.
Is that all right?
That's okay.
Because I'm like, does everyone know that?
Well, we do that when it's
Did I
time.
not know?
When it's time.
Jeez.
And I think sometimes people intentionally do not offer intentions. In other words, they decide, okay, I'm not going to have an intention. When the pandemic first started, I had a man come to me in the Mowers Meadow, and he wanted to have a reading. And he was trying to make some decisions, because I mean, that was before they got the shots, and he was down in the city, and he had his family, and he was very upset. And so we sat down, and together we put together this reading. It was a very profound reading. And off he went. And then when 2 years later, the pandemic was okay.
Yeah.
And he came back, and he brought the family again. He also brought relatives from Ireland and all of these things. And he asked me to do some readings. But you see, they didn't have any problems then, the second time. So the readings were almost like Jell-O. It was just, because there was nothing there. There were no problems. And when you have a problem to solve, you have an intention.
Yes, and I actually prefer it with the intention. I prefer it with the problems because it makes it much more interesting and it gives us a challenge.
Yeah.
With no intention, that's what happened yesterday. It was all over the place.
Yeah.
Because it was just like, I don't even know where to begin. It's just like...
Because she was all over the
There
place.
was no reason for her, frankly, to come, actually.
She was just in the moment.
It was just like, and I think that's why I actually have to be more, not careful about who comes, but it's just like I have to, There are some people who want to come. Oh, the other thing is like when I get messages that people leave on my door saying, I need a reading. I don't want anyone to need anything.
Mm-mm.
You know what I'm talking about? Don't need it. You don't need it. You don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I'm taking words and it's a word thing. It's spelling. I'm taking words and making too much of it. If you need it, I don't want to see you.
Right.
Isn't that like a contradiction of what I just said with the intention, though?
No.
But if you need it too much, no.
Then the intention is all skewed. Yeah, I can appreciate that.
So weird. I built up all these rules that I have to kind of follow.
But learning to create an intention.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
a college course right there.
Yes.
I have had classes where we did like Reiki sessions, and with each Reiki session, it would be like, okay, what is the intention going to be today? And it takes months. That's why it is so hard sometimes for healers to heal human beings, because they can't get to the intention.
Yes.
All of their fears are wrapped up, in between the problem and the healing. Mm-hmm. And the intention is just kind of not there.
Yes. I think that when it comes down to it, we all have the power in ourselves to be everything that we need. We are everything. This is it. We have it. And it's okay to go ask others for advice. It's always interesting when people say, can you tell my father who had passed what, that I love him? And I'm like, you can tell him yourself. And I don't mean to be like belligerent with them, but they have a better relationship with him than I do. It's not me, they could do it. Spirits can only come through in the readings because they know they feel safe. Basically, they know that I'm open to them. That's what a medium is, a medium between the two worlds. That's all it is. They know I absolutely believe them, and that I'm absolutely not afraid, and that they can come through. They feel safe with me. That's what I do. I'm a friend to the spirits. I found recently, it's on my Facebook page, a picture of me as a child. And of course, my favorite doll that I slept with every night was Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Oh, how adorable.
Mm-hmm. Picture on my Facebook page I found from the archives.
How adorable.
Me and my Casper doll. And I'm holding it and cuddling it.
How
me and my ghost doll.
That's darling.
That's my favorite doll that I slept with my entire childhood, Casper.
Oh, I think that's adorable.
Yeah.
Well, I think sometimes people want to go to you because I think they want to see Uncle Harry or whatever.
Yeah,
but then they also want to go back to their neighborhood and say, I went. And that way, if you're there, there's absolutely no chance that they just imagined it.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Real.
That's right. And
you are the validation.
Yes, I think I am. And they validate me too. Because I find myself, when somebody comes through very strong, by name or by, frankly, some of the sights are not that great because I'll see a person, sometimes they come through with the injuries of their death, and they'll be like, yeah, I know who that is. I find myself acting like a little kid. I'll stamp my feet in happiness, and it'd be like, oh my God, yeah, that worked, because I feel like they're validating me, like, yeah, that's the person. And I still, even after all this time, I get happy, I get thrilled if their dead relative comes through, because to me it's like, yeah, I'm not imagining this. Yes, it's real. And it gives me hope too that I'm not a raving lunatic who's just sitting here thinking I'm talking to spirits. They really are. They're coming through. And I have no fear of death at all.
I think that's wonderful.
How could I possibly? We go on.
Do you think that through your readings you share this lack of fear?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's wonderful.
Absolutely. And make people laugh, and they have a good time. And the spirits laugh too, they joke.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, we have interesting times. People are I'm very fortunate with the people who come. Now I have to say that if you think about it in terms of how many people have come, this may sound like a lot to some, maybe not a lot to others, but I could say that since New Year's, I probably did about 100 people in my store.
Wow.
That's a lot. That's a lot of people. And I could have doubled it, but I don't want to. And that's also not only the people who come in body, but think about all the people who come in spirit.
Let me ask you something. You have wands in your shop?
I have a couple that are made of driftwood, yeah, and wood that David made with copper on the end and stuff.
How do people use those?
They don't sell a whole lot, but once again, it's for intentions. It's directing of energy.
That was what I was getting at.
Yes.
So sometimes people need this tool.
Yes. For directing of
for
energy.
The intention.
Yes.
They can't just conjure up the intention mentally. They have to have
the tools. Some people like tools. Some people like. Well, there was a time when I remember back maybe it was the 80s or the 90s, I can't remember my decades now, when crystals were the rage. Everybody needed their crystals. Everyone needed to wear amulets and stuff. Really, when we look at it, do we really need them? Not really, but they made them feel better. You know, I think that people were carrying around crystal pouches and stuff with their rocks in them all the time, and I used to look thinking, you don't really need all that. You don't need all that. And even my reading table is decorated with all kinds of crystals and stuff, but you don't need them. But people like them for.
So if a person is having problems coming, oh my goodness, we're down to 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Oh my
Just
goodness.
go on. We need to make this longer.
Just 2 hours if
We
you
could,
want.
we might have to one day, I don't know. We could go on forever, can't we?
Well, you know, we are coming back. You are being scheduled more often than anybody else.
Well, I can't stop talking, apparently.
Well, that's because we have fun
We have
talking.
so much to say.
Listen,
and the stories never stop.
We do. We're coming back. This is March, so we're coming back in April.
All right,
We're
good.
going to be back in April. But in the meantime,
Intentions.
yes, so people can work on intention.
Yes.
And if for some reason they're not comfortable with intention, a wand may help.
Anything that you can point.
A pointer. Okay.
It's made of natural substance.
And
Not
in the
plastic.
meantime, how do people get in touch with you?
Susan Fiona Saxman.com at gmail.com. It's going to be very hard to get an appointment with me at this point because I'm really booked up. Or stop in my store, Fiona, which is right by Woodstock.
Well, that's if you want, especially if you want a wand.
Oh, once, yes, stop in, Fiona. I'm there every day except Tuesdays from 11 till about 3.
Every day except Tuesdays.
Except Tuesdays. I'm closed on Tuesday. I have one day off. The other days I'm doing readings.
Well, and soon we'll be seeing you as you bring a ghost and come through the
Yes,
Mowers
the flea
Meadow.
markets. That's my little jolly time when
Yeah.
I walk with Ghost every Saturday and Sunday morning.
Yeah, and I'm going to
Say
be
hello
I'm
to
going to
my
be at the
people.
flea market Saturday
I
and
love
Sunday
it.
this year.
Oh, good. I love seeing you. Thank you for the tennis balls. Ghost will be so happy.
She's going to love them. Listen,
she's
thank
gonna
you
love it.
so
Thank
much,
you.
Ellen. Thank you so
Ellen.
much.
You're the best. Thank
We
you.
really enjoyed this show.
Thank
It
you.
was a true
Happy
gift.
St. Patrick's Day.
Happy
Yeah, no
St.
offense to
Patrick's
St.
Day.
Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's still cool. He's still cool. It's just, the snake thing. Whatever.
Thank you very much, Miss
Thank you.
Ellen.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.